The achievement gap is when people of different race have unfair advantages and disadvantages in the education system, such as standardized test scores, maybe even like access to resources and things like that.
The race and achievement gap is basically a study that's been done over the past few years that shows that people, different ethnic groups, have achievement gaps with their standardized tests and dropout rates and stuff like that.
I guess the biggest part of the achievement gap is actually it's kind of like the poverty versus wealth, I guess, and race plays into that. And so the achievement gap is kind of like whether you were brought up in a poor household or a wealthier household, and basically the demographics of each is kind of what makes up the race or part of the achievement gap. And it's
achievement gap between the races, and it probably goes back from the beginning of American history, just starting out with slavery. It's a tough issue to talk about, but just from, since slaves have been in America, black people have been, at the bottom of like a social hierarchy. And up until now, it just seems that there's like a huge disproportion in education, in housing, between like good housing tends to go to rich white Americans, and poor housing tends to be for black people, Hispanics, other minorities. And
I guess just we as a people of the country, and just like how it's been set up, race, everything that plays into race, blacks and whites, and that's a big cause and achievement gap.
I don't think it's just race. I think it's socio-economic status, SES, ethnicity, gender. But I think race is really the trigger word when it comes to the achievement gap, because basically it's a visual component to human life, and when you have that visual component and that numerical component, and when those things don't line up, or when they do, I think that's the connection there.
That for races, for certain races, especially minority groups, it's harder for opportunities and to be able to have resources because of the like stereotypes that are put into place. Maybe that certain groups may not succeed or can't succeed.
I think prejudice has just huge implications, and when we don't even think it, where a black kid may not just be given the push that he needs because a white teacher may not think he's capable of achieving straight A's or an A on a book report or whatever, where a white kid who maybe not even be as intelligent, but because he's white, upper class, she's going to push him harder and want to see him achieve, as opposed to a black kid.
Poor areas are where black people reside, so the schools in those areas are also poor, and they don't have the same, material that other schools would have, so they can't give children the same knowledge that they need to, achieve more than, say, white kids in a suburb or somewhere. So I guess that could stem, that's a really big reason why the achievement gap is so high between black kids and white kids, and why it means so much when black kids go to college and stuff like that and graduate.
I think that honestly it's a lot to do with stereotypes in the way that people give into racial stereotypes. I think that a lot of people believe that a lot of minorities will perform poorly.
Like, people look down on black people. Since I'm black, I feel like as if I go somewhere, people don't think I'm able to do certain things, so they already assume that black people are not as smart as white people. But we don't have a lot of black people are not wealthy in a sense, so they don't think that we have the resources to have the good academics that we have, or we just don't care, or
There's been a huge debate about whether or not schools should measure achievement by measuring proficiency versus growth. I'm an advocate for individual differentiation, so I like to see growth more often than not when it comes to defining achievement.
I guess just accomplishing what you set out in your life to do. So if it's to make it to college, play basketball or a sport at a college, graduate from college, or anything you want to be successful in or do, I feel like that's achievement.
I'd say achievement is meeting or exceeding the goals that you set for yourself and meeting and achieving the goals that other people set for you.
Fulfilling my own definition of success.
I would say achievement is like something that you've had a goal for and you have worked really hard to like achieve that goal. To me, that's achievement.
Being able to complete something would be achieving something.
Okay.
Each student is different. Each student has a different race, socioeconomic status, gender, ethnicity, and they have a different level and pattern and focus area when it comes to achievement. And it's just a matter of meeting those needs in what's most convenient to the student and what's most convenient for you. Sometimes there's some push and pull there, but I think that's where you have to start. You have to start small and in small doses work up to that larger dose of remedying the achievement gap.
I think there could be some sort of remedy for the achievement gap. I don't know exactly how, but it probably could start with education. If we could find a way to incorporate minority students and white students in a public school setting where there's enough resources for everyone, I think that'd be a good start.
I really don't know. It's kind of hard. Racism being a big factor into a lot of things that happen. So I don't see racism ever being stopped or cut out of people, but if we can limit the amount of racism towards each other, then that can solve a lot of problems.
I would say really it would be in every classroom, an individual teacher knowing that these prejudices exist and really caring for each one of her students and seeing that she gives them every possible resource, gives all of him or herself to see anyone achieve, and especially paying special attention to kids who most likely probably have never been given attention or been told they can do it just because of where they're from or what they look like.
For solutions, people who do have the resources to help people who don't have the resources should go in and try to provide things like funding.
I think if we found a way to, combine schools, like a school that is doing really, really well, with one that maybe isn't, and giving them like training and tips and pointers and just intermixing those two groups, I think that could help a lot.
Equality. That's one. If everyone got the same materials and the same ability to like be able to learn, then we would all be on the same level. Like there wouldn't be my test scores are so much higher than your test scores. It'd be like everyone's on the same pretty much level. We'd all be learning the same thing. We're fine.
People need to stop assuming, or they need to just let people prove that they can do the work.
A way to break out of this would be for, honestly, determination. I know that seems simple, but determination to not succumb to any stereotypes of your race, to do the best that you personally can do, and to be as successful in your own abilities.
Beneficiary for sure. I mean, I'm white. I am upper middle class. I was always an honors kid. I graduated with an IB diploma in high school, and middle school they put me right on that track. Tracking is a little bit different from the achievement gap, but I think they work in tandem. Again, more often than not, I would certainly say I'm a beneficiary.
Yeah, I feel like at my school, certain people like whites have different benefits from the blacks that are there and from the black athletes. It's just the way they treat you and how they speak to you, and you can tell in the sincerity, like if they're sincere or not. So I feel that at my school, like, they pretend to be sincere when they speak to you, but they really don't want you to be successful as they make it seem.
I would definitely say a beneficiary, where I've never had a teacher look at me and tell me like I can't do something. Definitely coming from being a white male, I've never felt that anyone didn't believe in me, and almost like it was expected of me to not do poorly.
So my parents worked pretty hard to give me, my siblings and I, the best chance possible. So they put us in schools where like test scores are really high because they want us to be able to learn as much as possible, to achieve as much as possible. So I think that I have broken through a lot of stereotypes as like a black woman in school and college, and that because of my schooling, I've been given a really good chance to achieve as much as possible.
Yeah, I have a couple times since I played basketball and all. People think that I don't really care about grades, or they don't think that I don't take school seriously. So
Begins in school, but certainly after graduation, it comes in full force in the real world. The achievement gap is really starting to take shape and hold of some people who do fall victim to it.
Life, like the achievement gap, like going through life, there's always going to be obstacles and always going to be people who have different benefits from you and people who get things that you don't get, or get opportunities that you may not get because of their life and how they've been set up, and or maybe their skin color. It's just things in life that go outside of school that also involves that.
It's just like, again, like the individual prejudice of people, where you see someone and you just automatically make a huge list of assumptions about them before ever meeting them. They could be.
I believe that there are the same type of scenarios in the workforce, and I believe that it happens among like gender and different groups depending on your race. Some races are more, what is the word? Have more, well, I'll just say it. Some genders have more opportunities than others.
Oh, definitely. I think that like your life as a child will follow you, if you get what I'm saying. Like not being able to have the same resources as an elementary student can definitely affect you when you're trying to get a job when you're older. Like you might not be able to get a job, you might go to jail for something stupid, or you get a job that isn't really gonna benefit you as a person. It's sad, actually. I'm just kind of sad.
We chose to do our project on race and the achievement gap. And originally, when we picked this topic, I was very unsure and didn't think that anyone would know what the achievement gap was, or how it affects people, or how race plays into it. However, as we conducted interviews and talked with the people that we interviewed, I realized that everyone knew something about the achievement gap, even if they didn't know that the official name of the gap between the low group of students and the high group of students was called the achievement gap. And everyone seemed to know that the things that affected the achievement gap, like race and socioeconomic status, even if they weren't necessarily education majors, because I think something for me was that I didn't really know like what that was called when before I became an education major, and I wasn't necessarily like sure how that affected people. But through my time at Clemson, I've seen that and like through this class, and I feel that the fact that so many people recognized and knew what the achievement gap was shows how big of an issue it is in education, and how much of an effect it has on students as they move forward in their schooling and the rest of their lives. And I think that this leaves a very important challenge for us as pre-service teachers to help lower the achievement gap and improve our education system so that every child can be successful in future generations.
I thought it was interesting that during all these interviews, multiple people did make the connection between socioeconomic status and race. There were several people that discussed how students of minorities might come from a background of just lower socioeconomic status, whereas they don't have as many resources as students who are predominantly white and do come from upper middle class families where they're provided with resources. So the students that we interviewed were able to connect that to the ways that the achievement gap is formed. I also thought it was really interesting and tied into class content when students made the comment about the importance of blending those two communities in an attempt to bridge the gap. That's something we've talked about in class, just ways that some resources might be allocated differently to students of different class, different races, different ethnicity groups, and just ways that that might help with the achievement gap